Hello everybody, welcome to Bernrich. Bonjour, guten Tag, dzień dobry. Okay, so today we have a cheese wine pairing like every last Sunday of the month, and today I want to feature the Petit Verdot because right now the Petit Verdot we think has really reached its sweet spot. It's a beautiful wine right now. It's matured first of all when we harvest it in 18 months of barrels. So the tannins in the Petit Verdot are usually very much and large and big, and so in order to smoothen out those tannins, that's what we do, 18 months in barrels. And then after that, it's now 2017, so we're talking about 4 years of being in the bottle. 4 years and a year and a half, so that's 5.5 years to have it basically maturing. It's really wonderful now. So without further ado, this is really the wine that I'm right now very fond of to drink. This is really the winter time, Petit Verdot at its best, so why not pair that with a beautiful cheese? And I had envisioned to pair that with a brie. Something really funny happened because, you know, basically we had last Sunday 5 bries in the fridge, and I said, well, we're going to have enough bries to taste. And I looked on Thursday and there was none anymore to be had. So you guys like my cheeses very much, which I really appreciate. Thank you very much. So I thought, what else can I pair it with? And so I said, the brie goes very well. If you snatched one up this week from us, fantastic, great pairing. If not, you can also do the Swiss cheese. And the Swiss cheese goes very well with the Petit Verdot for various reasons, and I will talk about this in a minute. But a little bit about the Petit Verdot, the grape varietal. The Petit Verdot, and my husband told you maybe already about it a little bit more, but just to remind you, it is used usually in Bordeaux. And in this area of France, in Bordeaux, they use about 5 to 10% of Petit Verdot only to go into these beautiful bottles of Bordeaux. Why? Well, Petit Verdot gives you a backbone to the wine. It has these tannins, and the tannins are, we call this the backbone of a wine that will stabilize the wine, together with the acidity of the Cabernets that they put inside, and the Merlot they put inside to make it really nice and round. So this is why Bordeaux are so famous. Then basically the Petit Verdot has basically that job to do to basically get the wine that stringency to push it into the future, because a good Merlot, you might have had a Merlot at some point, a young Merlot, that tastes a little bit harsh. But what these Bordeaux can do is they can age 15, 20, 25 years depending on which side of the river you go to. So on the left side of the river, they have more Cabernets inside, and there the wines age much longer. And so henceforth, the Petit Verdot is a stabilizer for them, but also a body. You know, it gives a lot of body to these Bordeaux wines that usually the Cabernets don't have. You might have tasted our Cabernet Franc. It's a lighter wine, and so is the Cabernet Sauvignon. Can be a little bit more, but not very much. The Merlots are mid-bodied, but the Petit Verdot is this full-bodied wine that gives you this oomph into the wine, that gives you this might that you understand when you drink a Bordeaux wine. So without further ado, let's try the Petit Verdot. And as I told you, this is really now a really, really, really nice time to drink Petit Verdot because it's a little bit nippy and cold outside still, and you have that warmth that will go down your throat when you try this wine. Let's start with looking at the wine, what we always do first. You see the wine is absolutely dark. It is beautiful, dark cherry color, like Bing cherry color, really nice. I don't see any orange on the side. It's still very red. That means there's no oxidation in this wine. That is absolutely beautiful. And so after all this time, it is beautiful. And I see also it's very sparkling. So you have a brilliance in that wine, clean. It's filtered, of course. We filter our wines. And this wine is, again, there is no growth in it or anything after all this time. It's a beautiful wine. So that's what you look first. And now the second, what we do is do the first nose. And the first nose is you just basically smell it without shaking it around, meaning you don't put any oxygen inside. The first nose, the very first thing I smell is really these cherries, these really beautiful cherries. However, they're not fresh cherries for me. They are starting to become a little bit like a jam. And if you have that, going from fresh cherries to jam, the wine goes into its second phase. And that means it's becoming that beautiful wine. So you're going from the first aromas that you have in the fresh wine are these fruits, these really nice fruits if you have a nice wine. And that one had exactly these fruits, but we've tried it now for about 7, 8 months, and every time I try it a little bit later and later, I get this change into that jammy note of those beautiful, you know, if you have this pot of cherry jam, I mean, how good is that on a piece of bread with great butter? But that's exactly what I'm smelling. Ay, 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 it's very beautiful. And I have also, so this is what I'm doing. This is swirling it around to get it a little bit more oxygen inside, to give it more oxygen. And then I smell again just to really see and wonder again about this beautiful wine. What you have there is also a note of, we call that in French, kirché. So this is a little bit like it goes into a cherry schnapps. So again, the note of cherry is very prevalent, and that's why that wine is really, really so beautiful, because you have that beautiful note of cherries. And on top of that, I have a little bit of nutmeg in that wine. That, you know, that beautiful spice that you put on cheese dishes, that is really nicely represented, but also bay leaves. And bay leaves, you might know when you make sauerkraut or when you put anything, you know, like a stew, you put bay leaves inside to make that really nice. It's exactly what you can smell in here. That is very nice, that smell. Let me do a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, it smells really, really nice. I get a little bit of dusty also, you know, like when you imagine yourself being somewhere in the Midwestern states and there is the wind blowing and you get those dust balls and you get that little smell in your nose, that little, like almost ozone, you know, this kind of thing, the dusty ozone smell. I have that a little bit in the wine too, but very, very, very faint in this very high note that you smell really all the way up here. You, by the way, in the nose you have about 198 receptors, you know, for different smells. So you can smell really a lot more than you actually can taste. That's why I really take a lot of time to smell. But now let's try the wine. Cheers to you all. All right, I have to speak now a little bit louder, I think, because the heat just kicked in. You see, we're here in our beautiful winery. This is where the magic happens. You see behind me stainless steel tanks, barrels. That's where our 2020 vintages are maturing and becoming the beauty of what they will be later on in the bottle. So without further ado, this wine has basically a beautiful effect on me. You start drinking it and it just engulfs your whole mouth. Your whole mouth is full with flavors. Those cherry flavors are really prevalent and present everywhere. But what you have also when you swallow that wine, there is a little bit of peppery note for me. And you have a little bit that, what I told you, that cherry schnapps, that little bit that more higher note of alcohol goes down my throat, and that wine is still lingering in my throat. That wine has a very, very long time that it lingers in your throat. And that is a sign of a fantastic wine that you can age for a really, really long time, because it still goes on even after you finish it. And I swear to you, I don't know if I can finish that sip, but I will maybe try later on. And then I smell you the third nose when nothing is anymore, and you will still smell all these components that I described to you, because that wine is really, really gorgeous right now. So having said that, I will also talk about the Petit Verdot. You can age easily 10 years, if not 15 years. That's really very easily to do. And so this wine, and this is really a 17, was a really nice year. That's a great wine to put down and have for a special occasion, because it is so nice. What does it pair with? Well, I mean, the Petit Verdot, without the cheeses, it goes very well with any kind of beef dishes. If you think of steak, if you think of, you know, ribeyes or skirt steaks or anything like that, it's really, really nice. We had it also with a T-bone steak. We had a little bit celebration, my husband's birthday, and he wanted to have these T-bone steaks. We paired it with this wine. It was really nice. And then also, I'm a person that likes duck very much, and with duck, this is a real perfect wine. That cherry note goes into that duck, and if you ever had, you know, this duck with orange, duck l'orange, that French recipe, you know fruits and duck go very well together, and cherries and duck go also very well together. Perfect pairing together. So that's really something the Petit Verdot with regular food would go with. But now let's go and try the cheese, because the cheese is something that is also quite amazing. I've talked to you about this cheese. It comes from Gut Esse. It's from these Amish folks that make really fantastic cheeses. And the reason is because the animals are on the pasture. They are really all the time outside. Whenever there is a beautiful day, also when it rains, I believe, they're also outside. They just eat what they find. And there in the Nittany Valley, you have meadows that have any kind of wildflower you can imagine. That's basically what these cows eat, and that goes into their milk. That milk gets immediately transferred to the creamery, and then they make these cheeses out of that. And this little wedge here that you can see is a cheese that is about this large in that cheese cave we saw. And then they carve out those little pieces and package them, you know, individually wrap them and put a nice little, you know, band around them. This one is blue that says the Woden Swiss. And the Woden Swiss, I asked them that question, what is Woden? Because, yeah, obviously they speak German and I am German, so I wanted to know. And they say Woden is a town in Switzerland where they all came from when they left Europe and came here to first Pennsylvania and then down to, you know, these areas in Pennsylvania and then down here to the Shenandoah Valley as well. So what you have with this cheese is tradition, long time of family recipes being transferred to generation, and that's what they wanted to represent with this cheese. Okay, let's try. All right, so here I have a couple of fragments of the cheese. I usually always take the rind off because I don't like it, but you can eat that rind. It's a natural rind. I just happen to not like rinds, so I take it off. But as I said, you can eat that rind. It's not a chemical rind, it's a natural rind. They wash it with salt to preserve them. Okay. So now and always smell first everything. That cheese smells wonderful. It's really like a meadow. It smells flowery. You smell the milk that they put inside. It's really that kind of cheese, flowery, and the milk components come out. It's nutty also, and it's very, very rich smelling. So really, that milk that they used was really, really rich, and that's the smell I find. Very, very nice cheese. I tell you guys here in the tasting room, when you take that Swiss cheese, it's not a cardboard cheese like you get in the supermarket. These Swiss cheeses in the supermarket mostly don't taste very good. The ones I tried at least did not taste good. But this is a Swiss cheese like I had it in Europe, like really from the meadows of the Alps. That's how this cheese tastes. So if you like that taste of a real, real good Swiss, that's the cheese to get because they are really extraordinary. Nutty, a lot of herbs that I can taste, and just creamy, very, very creamy, that cheese. A very, very nice cheese, honestly. Okay, so having established the wine and the cheese, now we have to combine those two and see what happens in your mouth. So I take another bite. Keep it inside your mouth and take a sip. beautiful. Really beautiful pairing. That fruit character of the cheese, what I described to you, these herbs and everything, you know, this really gets enhanced. It gets even more so. The creaminess is there, but less, because the tannins and the acidity of the wine gives it a little bit of push to the other direction, but still very, very beautiful. And you have with that wine, the smokiness of the wine that I described earlier, that really beautiful cherry thing, that Kirsche is definitely getting enhanced. You have a real like a cherry taste in the mouth when you have that cheese with the wine. It is beautiful. I even smell a little, or I taste a little bit of rosemary. I think there's a little fly that likes my wine too. But it's really rosemary flavor that comes out completely. Let me do that again. It's way too good to not try twice. Absolutely, that cherry. Honestly, when you're a kid and you have a cherry ice cream, that flavor reminds me of that. It's not as cold, obviously, but it's really like that kind of flavor in your mouth. So if you like cherries, and I happen to really love cherries, this is really a great combination. But if you happen to like really good cheeses also, that is a fantastic cheese paired with this wine. This wine does not take anything away from this cheese. This wine really puts the cheese in a better light, I would say. It enhances that beautiful, herbaceous and nutty flavors that I could have with the cheese by itself, but even more so with the wine. And you have also that creaminess lingers with you then. The cheese carries the creaminess, and what it means, the cheese carries the fat content of the cheese. And that is really beautiful, because you have still that taste in your mouth, even if you don't have the cheese anymore in your mouth. So, as I told you, I promised I will do a third nose for you. So, let me finish the wine. Nice, very nice. And now, you see there is almost nothing anymore in the glass. The rest is here. So what you do is put your nose again in it. And you smell. And if you smell something, that's called a third nose. And the wine with a third nose is a very nice wine. Here I have, again, a little bit of cherry, but another smell comes here to light, which I didn't smell before, and maybe I just didn't smell it today. And usually I can maybe smell it, but licorice. Licorice is in my nose right now. Yeah, very much so. So that's really a nice sign of the wine being really nice. The cheese, as I described, the Woden Swiss, really, really beautiful. This pairing, I give it a 2-star. You know, I have a star system, and this is a 2-star pairing for me. So I'd say if you ever want to do a cheese evening with Swiss cheese, do not hesitate to put it with a Petit Verdot. And I really encourage you to try these tastings by yourself at home as well, with your loved ones around you, and try to discover these different flavors, because they're really amazing. And you don't have to describe them in as many words as I do, don't. But just enjoy. Enjoy them and just say, that really brings me onto a journey. This journey goes into the Swiss Alps, and this goes into the French Bordeaux region. And so you taste Switzerland and France together, you know, and this is what these things do. They take you on a travel that you right now really can't do with our pandemic, but we can travel at home with the beautiful products from these places. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being with me today, and I wish you a great week. Just so you know, we have music every Saturday from 3 to 6. A lot of people don't know that yet. So from 3 to 6, every Saturday's music. And next weekend, I highly recommend the 2 guys that are going to play 2 guitar virtuosi. Honestly, both of them, Josh and his partner there, they're just really amazing. So don't miss it. It's really nice acoustic music, nice and mellow, but really nice stuff. They do songs that we all know, but also songs that we don't, and learn about it. So come on out, have a good time at Barren Ridge, take some cheese, take some wine, and just let the world go by and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.